tried doing the right thing, and I don't know why I still fall for that. Every time I tell myself, this time, I'm gonna be a good person, something in the universe hears that and goes, oh, so you want problems today, because doing the right thing is never just the right thing. It's a process. It has steps. I am not a step guy. I'm more of a this should be over by now person. The moment it takes longer than expected, I start questioning my entire belief system. It always starts small too. That's how they get you. You don't wake up and say, today I'm gonna ruin my peace. You wake up and say, I'll just help real quick. That's a dangerous phrase. Real quick has never been accurate in my life. I say it like I'm a NASCAR pit crew, but I operate more like a confused tourist at a rental car counter. I'm confident at first, though. That's the embarrassing part. Walk in like, I got this, I do not got this, and the confidence is loud. I don't say it out loud, but my body says it. My posture changes. I stand straighter. I move faster. I make decisions without researching them. That's when you know it's bad. The second I skip research, I'm gambling. I'll press buttons I've never pressed before. I'll agree to things I don't understand. I'll nod like, yeah, makes sense, while absolutely nothing is connecting upstairs. Halfway through, there's always a moment where I realize I've misunderstood the entire situation, not a small detail. The main thing, the thing everything depends on, and that's when panic sneaks in quietly. It doesn't rush, it just taps me on the shoulder like, so what's the plan now? And I don't have one because the plan was confidence. That was it. That was the whole strategy. I try to slow it down, pretend this was intentional. I start saying phrases like, well, technically, which is what you say when you're already wrong, but want credit for effort. I'll explain things no one asked me to explain, using examples that make it worse. I can feel the situation slipping, but I keep talking like words might reverse time. They never do. They just add witnesses. What makes it worse is everyone else seems calm. That's unsettling. When I'm panicking and other people aren't, feel like I missed a meeting. Like there was an email that explained everything, and I opened it, saw a long paragraph, and said, I'll read that later. And now here we are. They're relaxed. I'm sweating like I'm taking a test I didn't study for. The teacher is watching me too closely. At this point, quitting would make sense, but I don't. I double down. Commit to the mistake. I start defending it like it's a personal belief. I don't even remember why I started. Now it feels important that I finish, even if finishing makes things worse. Especially if it makes things worse. I'll say things like, no, I've already started, as if that's a valid reason to continue something clearly going wrong. That's when it hits me. Doing the right thing isn't about effort. It's about knowing when to stop. I don't have that skill. I treat responsibility like it's a challenge I can outthink. Instead of a warning sign, I see a simple situation and think, I can handle this. And then I add myself to it. And now it needs a manager, a break, and possibly an apology. Because once I'm involved, it's no longer simple. People start asking questions I definitely should have asked earlier. I'm standing there realizing the only reason this became complicated is because I decided with full confidence to do the right thing. It always starts with confidence, and that's the problem. Not loud confidence, chest out confidence, quiet confidence. The kind where you don't announce it because you don't think you need to. You just assume competence has arrived. I'll look at a situation and think, yeah, I can handle this, even though I have no evidence from my past to support that thought. But in that moment, my brain rewrites history. Suddenly, I'm reliable. Suddenly, I've done this before. I haven't, but my brain is like, we'll figure it out as we go, which is a bold strategy for someone who gets stressed choosing a salad dressing. Move differently when this confidence shows up. Faster, decisive. I don't ask questions, which is how you know something bad is coming. Questions are a safety net, and I've decided I don't need one. I'll nod while people explain things, even if the explanation has numbers in it. Numbers mean responsibility. I'll nod anyway. I'll even say things like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense," which is just my mouth buying time while my brain looks for an exit. What's dangerous is how responsible I feel. I feel like an adult. Not an actual adult, but the idea of one. Like if someone were watching, they'd think, that guy's got his life together. I don't. I just happen to be standing still. I confuse calm with capability all the time. If I'm not panicking yet, assume I'm doing great, and I don't see the warning signs because confidence has blinders. I ignore the little hesitations, the moments where I should stop and ask, wait, what exactly are we doing here? Instead, I lean in, I commit, give my confidence room to stretch, and it takes over the whole situation. That's when I realize I'm not trying to help anymore. I'm trying to live up to a version of myself I invented about 30 seconds ago. And they're smart, and now people are expecting things, and I've already smiled like I know what's coming next. Even though I absolutely do not, the decision is never big enough to respect. That's the trick. If it felt important, I'd slow down, I'd sit, I'd maybe ask someone who knows things. But this decision doesn't deserve that kind of attention. It's tiny, almost invisible. It feels like a favor, not a commitment. The kind of thing you agree to while already halfway into something else. I don't even stop what I'm doing. I just say yes with my body. A nod, a step forward, that's it. That's the moment everything shifts. In my head, it's already over. I've completed it successfully without actually doing anything yet. That's how confident I am. I picture myself finishing it, walking away, maybe even feeling good about myself for a second. That imagined victory is enough for me to continue. Reality hasn't caught up yet, so I'm still undefeated. What I don't realize is that this small decision isn't alone. It brings friends. Every tiny choice is connected to other choices I haven't been informed about. There are follow-up questions waiting quietly. There are rules no one explained because they assumed I'd ask. I don't. I assume common sense will carry me, which is a risky assumption considering my track record with basic instructions. As soon as I start, time changes. Something that should take a minute starts asking for more. More attention, more movement, more answers. I feel it stretching, like it's not done with me yet. That's when I get that feeling in my stomach, the one that says, this was not part of the deal, even though there was no deal. I made that up. I start adjusting on the fly, convincing myself this is still simple. I tell myself, once I get past this part, it'll smooth out, which is what I say every time things get worse. Keep going, because stopping would require explaining why I stopped, and explaining feels harder than continuing, even though continuing is clearly leading me somewhere I don't understand yet. People are starting to look at me like I'm the one who chose this, which technically I did. It didn't feel like a choice at the time. It doesn't hit all at once. That would be too kind. Instead, it arrives slowly, like bad service. At first, I think everything's fine. Then there's a pause. A longer pause than feels normal. Someone says something and I respond automatically, but halfway through my sentence I realize I don't actually know what I'm responding to. My words trail off, not because I'm done talking, but because my brain just noticed it's behind. There's always a specific moment where I feel it shift. Nothing dramatic happens, no alarms, no obvious mistake, just a quiet thought that slips in and sits there. Wait, what? I replay the last few minutes in my head, trying to find where I missed something, and I can't locate it. It's like joining a movie halfway through and pretending you understand the plot. You recognize the characters. You don't know why anyone's mad. I start paying closer attention, which is dangerous because now I'm noticing details I ignored earlier. Words matter more. Instructions sound longer. People keep using terms they've already explained once. I realize I nodded during that explanation like it was background music. I catch fragments now. They don't line up with the plan I thought we were following. That's when I understand I didn't just miss a detail. I misunderstood the whole purpose. I try to correct quietly, subtle adjustments, a step back, a clarifying question disguised as a statement. So we're just doing the regular thing. That question carries a lot of hope. The answer never does. Instead, I get a look, not an angry look, a confused one. The kind that says, "Why would you think that?" And now I'm officially behind. Panic doesn't rush in, it waits. It lets me process just enough to know I'm wrong, but not enough to know how wrong. I keep listening, but now everything sounds like it's happening too fast, like I'm trying to read subtitles while also acting in the scene. I want to rewind, but life doesn't have that feature. So I stand there realizing I've been confidently moving in the wrong direction for a while. Everyone else just assumed I knew where we were going, which means the only thing worse than being wrong is that I looked certain while I was getting there. Once I realize I'm wrong, I don't stop talking. That's my instinct. Silence feels like an admission, and I'm not ready for that yet. So I start explaining, not to fix anything, just to stay in motion. I explain what I thought was happening, why I thought it, how technically it still kind of makes sense if you don't look at it too closely. Use a lot of words to cover a very small amount of understanding. I start sentences without knowing where they're going. That's a risky move. I'll say things like, "Well, the way I see it," even though I don't see it at all. I'm hoping the sentence figures itself out by the time I reach the end. Sometimes it does. Most of the time, it doesn't, and I just keep adding details like I'm building a bridge while already driving across it. What makes it worse is that I sound confident. My tone doesn't match my information. I'm calm, measured, almost professional, which convinces everyone I must have a point. I don't. I just have momentum. I'll reference things no one mentioned, bring up examples that don't apply, and circle back to ideas that were never agreed on. I can feel people drifting, but I keep going because smart and stopping would mean acknowledging that I've taken everyone on a verbal tour of nowhere. I also start repeating myself, which is how you know the explanation has failed. If I say the same thing again, but slower, act like that's clarification. It's not. It's just louder confusion. I'll add phrases like, "What I'm trying to say is," even though what I'm trying to say already escaped and ran for help. At some point, notice faces change. Not angry, not impatient, polite. That's the worst kind. Means they're waiting for me to finish so they can correct me. And I know it's coming. I can feel the moment approaching But instead of stopping, I explain one more thing, just one more. Because in my mind, if I can just talk long enough, the mistake might forget it exists. We can all move on without acknowledging that my explanation didn't solve anything. It just confirmed I shouldn't have started talking in the first place. Once I realize I've made a mistake, my instinct is not to fix it. That would be too easy. No, I double down, I commit. I act like the problem isn't a problem. It's a choice I made deliberately. There's a weird pride in continuing something clearly going wrong. It's like telling yourself, well, I started this, so finishing it has to prove I know what I'm doing. Even though every step screams otherwise. I'll defend decisions that were never mine to make, as if arguing about them somehow rewrites history. I start framing everything in terms of logic that doesn't exist. Technically, it's still possible. I say, when everyone else is looking at me like I'm inventing a new language, I point to past actions, to irrelevant examples, to hypothetical scenarios, anything that might justify my insistence on continuing. Every word adds weight to a situation that should have been abandoned hours ago, but I can't stop, because stopping now would admit that I'm wrong. That's apparently more terrifying than creating chaos. The worst part is I convince myself I'm helping. I tell myself, if I back out now, everything collapses. Even when deep down I know nothing would collapse if I just stepped aside. The narrative in my head insists that the universe will notice my hesitation and punish everyone. That's the thing about doubling down. It turns small mistakes into complicated stories. Suddenly I'm a main character in a drama I didn't audition for. I keep moving forward, doing things I don't fully understand, explaining things nobody asked for, pretending I've got a plan while inventing one on the spot. Every attempt to control the outcome just makes the situation stranger. There's a thrill in it, like being on a roller coaster I convinced myself I was driving. The ride is terrifying, exhilarating, completely unavoidable, because I already committed. Backing out would ruin the illusion that I ever had a clue what I was doing in the first place. By the time I realize how tangled I am, they're smart. There's a strange clarity, but it doesn't help. I know I'm the common denominator in all this chaos. Awareness doesn't undo anything. It's like standing in a puddle of water knowing it came from a burst pipe upstairs. You understand the source. You're still wet. Every move I make now is cautious, but caution is slow and the situation is fast. I can see the pieces. They don't line up the way I thought they would, and that's where the comedy hides. This is because I'm the only one frantically connecting dots that weren't meant to be connected. I start noticing patterns in my mistakes, small, repetitive patterns that scream, "You should have stopped 10 minutes ago." I remember past attempts to be helpful and realize I've been down this road many times. It's comforting in a sad way. Predictable failure has its own rhythm. I almost laugh, but then I remember there are witnesses, and laughter could escalate the chaos. So I settle for quiet panic disguised as calm observation, which somehow makes people think I'm still competent. I try to anticipate what's coming next, but it's too late. The situation has evolved faster than I can adapt. Every adjustment I make has a side effect I didn't account for. I explain a solution, and it creates 3 new problems. I apologize silently to the universe, but the universe doesn't respond. Just watches like it expected this all along. I've learned nothing new here, except that being self-aware doesn't grant immunity from consequences. That's where the audience stays hooked. They recognize the struggle because it's universal And they're still waiting for the moment I either succeed or completely implode. And I keep moving, speaking, adjusting, committing to choices I already know are questionable. I see the pattern, I feel the stakes, but I can't stop. The suspense is in my own awareness of failure, while the world carries on around me, calm and oblivious, waiting to see how I'll navigate a mess that's entirely my creation, knowing full well that the solution probably lies in quitting. But quitting is not in my vocabulary yet, so in the end, I'm standing there, still trying to look like I know what I'm doing, while quietly realizing that maybe doing the right thing isn't about effort, it's about timing. Maybe it's about not doing it at all, but by then, the universe has already moved on. Everyone else is calm. I'm the only one holding this imaginary trophy for most dramatically overcomplicated a simple task, and that's fine. That's exactly how I like it.